Hi, it's Sebastien. Welcome to the Unicorn Gathering, and I'm here in my humble abode, Prow House. I'm up in the loft where I sleep, so this is the inside, or a little bit of the inside. Woo! So, I recorded a video earlier today outside, and it was a little bit breezy, and so the sound got all messed up and I couldn't use it, so I'm recording again because I really want to get a video out today. I want to get this message out. It's 2020. I haven't done a video in a while. I've been wanting to do one, but it's been a lot. It's been like so much has been going on. Obviously the fall is always just a lot. And I wanted to make sure that I was awake, not exhausted, and feeling connected to myself and feeling, ready to do a video. So I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm excited for what I'm sharing today. And just love all of you all that are here with me today and enjoying this brand new year, brand new decade. We're doing 2020. We're doing 2020, y'all. Can you believe this, that we're here and this is what it feels like, and that we're in the year 2020. It's like, what? Where are the flying cars, I was actually talking to a cashier about that the other day. He wasn't really having any of it, though. I just wanted to spread some love. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. And before I start, I do want to say that with everything that I share on this channel, with everything I share on Instagram, please just take what resonates with you, meaning take, if you're feeling it, if you're understanding it, if you're not in your head, if it feels good to you, then take that in. And if you don't understand, or if it doesn't feel good, or if you're not feeling it, then just leave it. You don't need to feel bad about yourself or feel weird. It's okay. You know what I mean? If you're feeling it, you're feeling it. If you don't, you don't. So just take what resonates and leave the rest. And that's for everything in life, and no stress. So I just feel very strongly as we're starting this new decade. It's kind of like this fresh start. We just ended this giant cycle, to really give us some context for what we're doing on this planet and what we're up to as souls and as human beings. So Mother Gaia, the Earth, who is an entity. She is a conscious being, and so much love for this being. So much love. She would like to upgrade her own consciousness, and of course the consciousness of all the beings that live on the planet with her, and to move Earth into 5D consciousness. So what consciousness we have been in is something we call 3D consciousness, and if you're wondering what the hell that is, that's just the drama, the trauma, and what's been going on Earth, the violence, the craziness, the duality. Really, it's duality, me versus them. There's two of us, so we must fight each other. It's the opposite of unity consciousness. It's, the binary system of male and female, right and wrong, good or bad, all the things, black and white, all the things, that's 3D consciousness. And what we're moving into is unity consciousness, a consciousness that most of the people, if not all the people that are watching this video, are very familiar with, which is the consciousness of knowing and understanding that we're all intimately connected, and being cruel or mean or to someone else obviously is actually harmful to me, because that person is just another representation or version of me or the divine, and it's not actually helpful in being unkind. So that doesn't mean we can't set boundaries, but that's a whole nother story. So I think that it's really important to keep in mind that we're playing this massive game of the Ascension. And the Ascension, that's just, there's all this sort of language out there that it's you're like, what are all these words? Well, I'm gonna do my best to kind of break it down. So the Ascension just means moving the consciousness of the planet from 3D consciousness to 5D. And a lot of souls have never incarnated anywhere other than Earth before, and they don't know what it means to be in that kind of frequency or that kind of consciousness. They've actually never experienced it before, but they do come from the divine soul world, and so they are familiar with their divinity in that respect. But in terms of having that consciousness in incarnational form, for a lot of beings on this planet, that is not something they've ever experienced. On the other hand, there's a lot of beings that are coming from higher dimensional and frequency backgrounds that have come specifically to Earth to help the Earth as a being and an entity, and humanity in general as a being and an entity, to upgrade and to ascend into a higher level of consciousness, a unity consciousness. You can imagine what the Earth's going to be like in a 5D consciousness when everybody has the understanding that we're all connected and that we're all in this together and we're all working together. That's pretty different than where we are right now, where we are so focused on our differences, and that you're different than me in some capacity, whether that be through race, religion, sex, gender, experience, class, background, and everything, anything, political standing. Like, we're so focused on our differences, and unfortunately, it doesn't get us very far. So, So, if you want to sort of situate yourself and your soul inside of this, most of the beings, again, that are watching this are not necessarily souls that grew up on Earth. They're coming here from other star systems. They're coming here from other galaxies. In this universe, and there's so many places to incarnate into bodies, all sorts of different kinds of bodies, all through this galaxy and universe, and so many beings have come here to volunteer to help this planet ascend, and also just to have the human experience, because the human experience is very special. Being in a human body is very special. The emotionality of being human is very unique. The love that we get to tap into in our bodies is actually very unique, and these bodies as means of entering into our interdimensionality and all sorts of special superpowers is really special too. But of course, that possibility has really been minimized because Earth has been really locked in a control grid by the powers to be for a very long time, and human beings haven't had the opportunity to have that experience of who they truly are, which is these lovely, wonderful, multi-dimensional beings of love and light that are really here just to create. We've been brainwashed and programmed to think that we are small and we don't mean much, and that we're the scum of the earth, and that we're greedy, nasty creatures. And that is so not true. That is so not true. Have we been conditioned and brainwashed to behave a certain way? Certainly, but that is not. I think that's very unnatural to human beings and who we are. I think that there's been a lot of violence that we've been conditioned and sort of moved into, and of course if you've been traumatized from generation to generation to generation, that really is gonna mess you up. And the degradation of our genes as well. So there's a lot going on. But the truth of the matter is, we are wonderful, beings of love and light, and we have wonderful potential in our human bodies to express that. And if you're coming from another planet or dimension or incarnational experience, you might have that understanding inherently in you. And it might seem very difficult to understand why humans do the things that they do or behave the way that they do, especially if you've only incarnated Earth this one time. So a lot of beings from other dimensions, higher dimensions, that are they're just here, a one-off, to come and shine their light. Very shiny, lovely beings, and it can be very difficult for them to understand why human beings act the way that they do. But if you've been on Earth and you've incarnated in Earth enough, and you've gone through and incarnated in a lot of different areas of the world, and understand the control mechanisms that have been in place for thousands of years, you can you can sort of understand, when you're subjected to so much abuse over and over again, like why people act the way that they do. And why it's very difficult to sort of, open up the jail cell and walk free, even though there's no one necessarily guarding that jail cell. We're really taught to be our own jailers, and just mentally and emotionally we're sort of programmed to be our own jailers. So it's very, very, it's a lot easier to sort of understand that experience. And you could be coming from that kind of background of being a long-term volunteer, of coming to Earth and having a lot of different incarnational experiences to really understand what's going on down here, so that you can be a healer and a transformer of that experience, and help heal the trauma and everything that this planet has been through for the longest time. So there's plenty of star systems that you can be from: Sirian, Orion, Palladian. You can be Arcturian or Ramadan. There's plenty, and this is why our culture is obsessed with a lot of science fiction, especially Star Wars series and things like that. We remember our galactic origins. Remember that we're a part of, that the world is so much bigger. It's this idea that we're just alone in the universe is, pretty silly if you think about the bajillion possibilities of things that there is and could be. So even this tiny incarnational experience that we're having right now is so small compared to who we are as beings, and how many different incarnations we've experienced, and a wide gamut of different situations. And if you take on top of that, like if you're a starseed, this term starseed just means that you've had incarnations on other planets and other star systems, and potentially other bodies too. Doesn't just have to be a human body. It could be all sorts of things, all sorts of exciting things. So, that's really valuable, that energy coming and being on Earth and intermingling with beings and consciousness that's only been inside of really kind of a pretty dark place for a very long time, to help bring different possibilities and ideas and visions to what conceivably could happen on Earth. And Earthlings and souls that have incarnated Earth have a lot to give and share with the rest of the galaxy about the unique experience that they've had. And the human body is also very unique as a vehicle, and that has a lot to teach us too. So we've come here to assess, but we're also learning a lot from this experience that we take back into other experiences after we're done with this one. So, but this is a very important happening, and the ascension of the planet is very, very important. And of course, there's a lot of propaganda that's sort of being pushed right now, that the world is going to destroy itself, and we're going to destroy ourselves, and everything's going to hell. and the apocalypse is happening. And certainly I think some people want us to collectively agree that that's happening. And there is an apocalypse happening, but it's for the old systems, it's for the old consciousness. And of course, it seems like things are pretty bad right now, but things have been pretty dark on Earth for a very, very long time. It's just that everything's coming to the surface. If you think about the body being extremely toxic, and it finally detoxing itself. A lot of times, our whole body can break out in hives, or we could have like skin eruptions, and it can be really gross and disgusting, and you didn't know this stuff was hanging out in your organs and your innards, and it's finally just coming out, it's coming to the surface, and that's what we're seeing now. And then, sort of the more chaos, we're in between the old system and the new system, and in this limbo there's a lot of chaos and disruption, because a lot of death is happening simultaneously to a lot of rebirth and newness, and these dramatically different ways of being. And so it's like, it's this mixture of energy that can seem overwhelming and unwieldy and wildly and just a lot. So don't worry, nothing bad's gonna happen. This is all being orchestrated perfectly, and a lot of things do have to get dark. If you're even looking at your own life, it's like, gosh, what really made me, change and transform? A lot of times it was like dark night of the soul, like we really had to meet some pretty dark things to undergo, or to make some pretty significant positive changes in our lives, whether that be through death or loss or sickness or disease. So that's the same thing with humanity. Humanity sort of has to face itself. You'll notice that every time a really horrible thing happens, whether it be a natural disaster or some sort of mass casualty, a violent action, that people will come together for a moment's notice, forgetting their differences, and bond together and work together, and loving unity in a 5D consciousness to help what is happening. And so it's just like, how much of that turmoil do we need to go through to sort of permanently pop into this understanding and consciousness that we're all together, and to escape this programming that pits us against each other, Now, as beings of love and light that are here to help the ascension process, your job is to first and foremost create a bubble of love with yourself, and this is why I really emphasize self-love techniques and being very generous and gentle with yourself. We need to create a bubble of love within ourselves first, and that extends to everything and everyone that we touch, meet, and extend ourselves to and impact. But the very first person to build that relationship with is ourselves, and to be unbelievably forgiving and gentle and loving and patient with ourselves on a physical level, emotional level, spiritual level, energetic level, all the levels. And that's kind of this never-ending wonderful process of like, how loving can I be with myself? And that creates so much healing, and it starts pulling out all of this programming that's very sort of self-abusive and self-neglecting, until we are really taking care of ourselves 100%. We learn to be alone with ourselves, and to be and the reason why we avoid being alone with ourselves a lot of the times is because we're not a very pleasant person to be alone with. We might be, beating ourselves up in our own minds. We're not like particularly self-nurturing, so of course we don't want to be alone with ourselves. That's probably scary. So to learn to be your own best friend, your own cheerleader, your own guide is extremely, extremely important. And the more we do that, the more we create stability and self-resourcefulness and groundedness and heart-centeredness, which is going to be really important, because as time goes on, if you thought that last decade was nuts, this decade is going to be super nuts as things continue to transform and break down. And we're really in the midst of this hurricane. We're really getting into the meat of it now, where everything is breaking down. And people are already freaking out And people are really going to be freaking out. And the unicorns, the beings that have come in here to really anchor a new frequency, and to really anchor the light, are going to be called upon to be peaceful and centered and loving amidst all of that. So important to create a really simple life right now. A simple, stable, simple, emphasizing simple, slow, loving life. Because honestly, the human body and the human heart, that is what the human heart and the human body really want. We're not really geared for this super Western fast-paced society where we're like, that doesn't really fulfill the human body and heart. That can fulfill the ego's needs and our conditioning and programming, but that's not really giving us what we need on a very human level. The human part of us wants to sing and dance and connect and to share, and for things to be grounded and slow, and to know the people around us, and to be close to the people around us, and for things, to be simple. And as cosmic beings that have a lot of life experience and a lot of different incarnations, we're not simple. And I think that's one thing that's challenging, is to learn how to take all of that wisdom and all of that knowingness and like integrate it in our human heart and surrender to what we are doing here, which is being human. And the best way we can be human is to really come off of our own hot sauce and to settle into who we are right now, which is human fucking beings, lovely, tender, vulnerable, troubled, healing, damaged. We've all come a long ways, and that's why we need so much of our own loving attention. So, as we start this new decade, we just have to keep in mind of who we are. You know, we are so much more than who we are in this tiny incarnation. But again, we can't just live up above, floating around our body. We do have to anchor ourselves. If you're just taking a spiritual perspective without also considering your earthly identity this time around, that's not going to work. But if also you just are overly identifying with who you are in this incarnation without considering all your other incarnations, then you're maybe not in unity consciousness. You're not maybe considering your galactic origins, where you've come from, all of what you have to share. And for me, I think that I finally have accepted that I am coming from a Palladian background. There's information out there. You can do research if you want to like really tap into, you can tap into all sorts of things, other incarnations that you've had on Earth, incarnations that you've had on other planets, what star systems that you might be coming from. But I think it's pretty obvious to me, especially when I sit with beings that have more experience on Earth, that that is not the predominant frequency in my field. My field feels very cosmic, and I think it's a pretty strong Palladian vibe. I think I've incarnated in other star systems as well, but that comes through pretty clearly. And so I really feel that I've come here for this profound experience, and because I think I really love humanity and Mother Earth, and being here and incarnating here a lot, I think that I've come to really appreciate the human spirit, like the fact that humans can go through so much and still maintain dignity and integrity and love for themselves and each other. Like, I see that just over and over and over again, and it's just so shocking to me and phenomenal, and just like makes me cry all the time. So as we head into our own healing cycles, and that's going to be a lot of what's happening, it can be very painful, and we can feel very alone in that. And just to remind yourself of who you are and why this is happening. You know, if you've come here to really be a healing presence, it's important to understand how that process works. Go through and be placed in families that are typical for what's been going on for so long. If you've been through a lot of childhood trauma or situations, like, this is not uncommon, unfortunately. It's more of what's normal. And to have that experience of what it means to have, it's a very human experience to go through that. And to find ways to overcome it so that we can help other beings overcome it. It's very difficult to assist others, and also very arrogant unless you've been through it yourself and you know all the nitty-gritty dark aspects of it yourself, that you've touched all of those places in yourself. It gives you so much more compassion and empathy. There's a lot of beings that from other systems, they're very shiny and light, and they have only incarnated, this might be their first incarnation on Earth. I think that I mentioned this earlier. Bless their souls for being here. So, these beings are so beautiful, and yet they might have a very difficult time understanding why human beings are so ridiculous or do this or that, and it's because they haven't necessarily spent other incarnations going through the control mechanisms and understanding, like, what it means to be human and how difficult it is if your soul's undergone this many incarnations of abuse and trauma, or being a perpetrator of that too, and how much harm that does to the soul. Like, you might understand why human beings act and react the way they do. So, if you are going through pain in various forms, it is to gain empathy and for yourself and for the human experience, and to really overcome it so that you can again help others overcome it. And that's, you are all such a blessings and so beautiful for being here, because being sensitive is this world wasn't built for you. You came into a world that's not your world. You are the future, and we're building into that future, and therefore the density and the pain is not something that we're accustomed to, and we're hypersensitive because we're adjusted to already to a world that's coming, and to the frequencies and energies that are coming, which are much higher and much more subtle. And so the density and getting hit over the head with a baseball bat a lot, it's like, holy crap. I mean, we really, really, really feel it because we're so sensitive. So to be inside of that and to overcome all of that and to still be here, you know, to feel like an outcast or alone, or like that no one understands you, your family or society, and like that's so normal being a starseed. But there's so many starseeds here. There's so many beings from other incarnational experiences here, and they're just waking up and remembering who they are and all their divinity and glory. And that's really who I'm here to speak to, because there's so many beings on this planet who don't understand what the fuck I would be talking about. I think I was fucking high as fuck and crazy and just like off my rocker talking about all this stuff. So, but if y'all understand in your hearts of hearts, you're like, oh my god, yes. And I'm starting to remember, I'm starting to let that consciousness seep in, and starting to understand myself and really know myself, because that gives you so much more empowerment, and like, oh yeah, like I can do this, I can continue to go, I can continue to go on my path, and I can stay here on Earth and continue to make positive growth and positive changes for myself and humanity. So, wow, there's like so much more to say, but that's just the beginning, and I'll stop there, because I think 30 minutes is a nice little So I just want everyone to know I love you all. Y'all are amazing for being here and continuing on your journeys. We're gonna have a great decade, and I'm here I just want you to know I'm here. I'm really committed to staying here on earth with y'all and seeing this through all the way through. And, you know, that means for me a real commitment to my human experience and healing my body, my heart, and my mind, and my soul. And but the more that I do that, the more I can be there for others, and just to be, just that's my commitment, and just to being here. Like, if you're gonna really commit to being here, you want to make sure that you want to be here and that it feels good and you're not in so much pain all the time. So, but like, healing is painful, but it's sort of temporarily painful. You gotta sort of open up the wound and whoosh, hose it out, and yeah, that part's painful, but you know, that's done because in the end, that will heal over. There will be a scar because we want to remember what we've been through and what we've come through. Like, those scars, we earned those scars. So be proud of that. Be very proud of that. I think I'm going to leave it there. And I love you all. Hope to see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Continue being so gentle and incredibly diligent in your self-care. Because, you know, the change is coming so fast and is continuing to come fast, and the simpler that you can make your life, the quieter that you can make your life, the slower that you make your life, the less drama there's going to be, the less rub there's going to be, the less pain there's going to be. So shoot for that. And again, that's also what the human body and the human heart is craving so much. All of us are craving that so much. So much love. Love you all. Take such good care of yourselves. And I'll see you soon.